if the gun, if guns are sold in shops quite widely, then it means that they must be available to a wide audience, right? Supplying, economics. I don't want to belittle the subject, but like supply and demand at its simplest form, right? If there's a supply, it means there's obviously demand. So people are demanding that they have the gun. Whereas in Britain, there's no demand there because it's super illegal. It's like so hard to get a license. You can't just get a license and then buy a gun. You have to get a license, then justify why you need a gun.
Welcome back, everyone, to episode 7 of Maturing Cheddar. We're still going. You can find us on Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, and also hopefully YouTube soon. And also follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Today, we're with me, Ryan, and we also have Todd, Lewis, No Hemel. I think we've got a pretty big topic to talk about today. Kind of controversial but interesting. It's been in the news recently. So there's been this viral video going around on YouTube from the Sandy Hook promise, and kind of let me explain the video. Then we'll go into a bit more detail, like everything behind it. But the video is called Back to School, and it effectively starts off with these kids going back to school, and they're kind of excited. They have all these new products like new trainers, new clothes, new skateboard. Then suddenly it turns like very dark. Within seconds, the video becomes into this like mass shooting scene where people are using their new skateboards to smash the windows to escape from the school. People are using their new clothes that they bought to tie up like legs of other children that have been shot. Some girls in the toilet texting her mum on her new phone, saying goodbye as like a shooter walks into the bathroom. So the video is, it's called Back to School, and at the end it says Back to School. We all know what that means, and it's kind of a promo to make people more aware of potential mass shootings. And it's gone viral because it's kind of a extremely shocking video to see. And I can give you a bit more background. So it's a Sandy Hook promise, and Sandy Hook was a school shooting that happened in 2012 in America on the East Coast, and it's kind of some of the members of the victims, their families have kind of set up this promise, and they made this video. And I know both Lewis and Todd have seen this video. I kind of want to get their views on it, because my initial view is I'm wondering what the whole point of this video is. It's kind of a very extreme video, and what it makes me think is it just scares the kids and scares the parents just before they're about to go back to school. And I was wondering what you guys think as well.
Well, yeah, you showed it me literally this not too long ago, Ryan, and I think I was the same as you. It's pretty shocking. First of all, I'm like shocked at the end point, which I think is to like try and get people ready for mass shootings, which is really sad, shocking for someone in the UK to listen to. But then also I was like shocked at the fact that there's so much production value gone into the video. I just couldn't imagine a similar video coming out in the UK, and it's just blew my mind a bit. And I'm still getting over it. Actually, it wasn't too long ago that I saw it, so trying to digest all that and then try and think, okay, it is a real problem in the US, and it's such a real problem that they've had to get professionals in, including child actors, and make a video about this to really serve an aim, which is to, I guess, I don't know, like you said, scare parents into like getting their children trained on what to do and in case there's a mass shooting. I don't know, what a sad world we live in, right? If it's come to this.
Yeah, it's horrific. Haunting whenever I watched it. And I echo what you're saying. Like, what's the purpose of the video? Because coming from a country where mass shootings don't really occur too often. It's something which is just alien to you. Like it almost goes without saying. Of course, like it's devastating. It's something you never want to have to watch, and I think all three of us would echo. Like thoughts to families that have to, go through this. I've lost a child and lived on with it because of mass shootings. I'm just sitting there watching it, thinking, like one of the children in the photographs was born in 2003, and this is a generation we're speaking about has to deal with all types of issues, to do with the internet and technology that they're growing up with. And the last thing they should have to worry about is going back to school and something as terrible as a shooting occurring, like in the place they're meant to be most safe. And at somewhere between 5 and 10 years of age, which is the ages of the children that were killed in the shooting in 2012. I don't know what I could really comprehend at that age and understand. You have to take these actions in the event of this event. It just about was able to follow a fire drill. What to do if the school was on fire. Never mind, the school was under attack. So it's hopefully something we never experienced in this country. And I don't really know how American parents this September, feel, because
it's a good point you bring up, isn't it? Like we get taught to do a fire drill. That is literally what they've done, basically, isn't it? They've made a fire drill video, something that you'd expect to see on a plane, but they've applied it to like a mass shooting scenario, and then so they've taken a subject that's really usually not dull, but like I guess everyone in it knows already the drills and what to do, etc. I think they have drills at school, many schools, and then they just put a really high production amount of money into it to get the awareness up, I guess, and just keep people interested to the end of the video. And let's face it, we were interested, weren't we? We were like, what, if nothing else, what is going on here? And then there's a girl at the end just crying and texting on her phone to her mom, and you're like, whoa, and you hear the footsteps coming. You're like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think I watched it like back to back 3 times, 4 times. You just couldn't turn it off. Couldn't believe what I was watching. And you're right, the production value of it is, they've had to go to such extremes to get across a message, which, a leaflet obviously isn't going to cover now, because it's real. Like it actually is something where the emotions need to be conveyed, and like I found myself struggling to watch it.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, because it starts off just so innocent.
Yeah.
Like a Marks and Spencers or British Home Stores, like advertisement, big shops in the UK, they would be advertising, back to school wear or something like this. And you're like, oh, okay, this is just some normal advertisement, and it turns dark quick, and you have this, a girl hiding in a classroom, holding these scissors. You're hearing gunshots, and you're like, what the fuck? I mean, definitely in the US, they now have, they do have these as fire drills, effectively, so the students know exactly what to do. But imagine in the UK, you come back home from school, and you're like, oh, Mum, guess what we did today? We learned how to get out of school if there was an active shooter. The parents would be like, what the, this is never going to happen here. But I think it's just become so normalized in the US now. I mean, obviously.
Well, I mean, what do you mean by normalized as well? Because I think with it, it's actually, you look, I don't know, one's too many, really, isn't it? But like there's maybe one. It's not like there's one in each state each month. There's maybe, I think, a few per year across different states in America, and America's a massive place, obviously. So even they consider it a big enough problem across, even though it's not in probably every state, they consider it a big enough problem. I mean, I remember when I was in California, I was with some friends, and they have kids, and they get warnings on their phone, and I can't remember whether it was an app or if the telephone provider provides this service, or the message is sent across the telephone provider. But essentially, if your kid goes to a school and they have there's a warning sent out or something. Let's say, oh yeah, that's it. Yeah, let's say there's been a shooting in the area, not necessarily at a school, but there's been a shooting in the area. An alert will go out on the phone, on your phone, like almost as if it's a text message. It'll say as much description from the police as possible, so for people to keep an eye out for this person. Like imagine that. Imagine getting a message from the Met Police saying, yeah, blah 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 person on the run, suspected of doing X, Y, and Z, and you get a message. It's nothing to do with you, but you get a message saying, keep an eye out for this person if you see them. Everything we get goes through the news, right? It goes through like BBC. That's how you would find out. If you didn't look at BBC, you wouldn't. There's a good chance that if you weren't on the internet or anything, a good chance you wouldn't, or read the newspaper. There's a good chance you wouldn't know what's going off out there. Whereas when it comes to breaking news, Americans are. I guess they've used technology to really hit home to people, so people are on the pulse. I found that interesting. So it goes for the same thing. If there's something at a school, a mass shooting or something, I think I'd expect an alert would go out and people would start getting scared.
Yeah, like not to diverge too far away from the video, but I think it's still on topic. As you're saying, like alerts. So I remember whenever there was the terrorist attacks in London, at London Bridge, and how I found out about it was a BBC news alert that popped up on my phone, and I was not in the area, but people that were in the area, if you weren't aware of what was going on, is your immediate reaction to run away from it, go help? I assume most people would run away. Natural reaction, you'll get as far away from danger as possible. But if you're a parent and you've just received a notification via, a news provider or your however means to say that there's an attack within this area, like I'm not a parent, but I know like my dad, and I assume most parents, their heart would stop, and probably the next reaction is, I'm going to my school to go to my child's school, and I'm going to get them. I think there's very few parents would blink, but then does that create the issue of more people coming to danger? Like, do you want people to come, and does that like more people help the situation, or does more people make the situation worse? It's a tough one because now it's in the forefront of parents' minds. Every time that phone goes off, are they sitting thinking, oh, here we go? I guess
a
call I never wanted to answer.
I mean, it's interesting. Just want to get across to if there's any Americans listening. It's just so alien to have, number one, the alerts, and then number two, obviously this whole subject of shootings at school. It's just so alien to us, especially me and Todd, I guess now, and even Ryan. You don't really probably see it anymore, but much. But it's just so alien. But I would be interested to hear if that is the case that you were saying, Todd. Like, are the alerts meant for parents and people in the area, like, so that you could keep up to date with if there's a loved one around? Is that what they're trying to achieve, or is it literally just an alert to say, be careful to the general public, this person is dangerous and don't approach the school? Because of course, like you said, the natural reaction of a parent would be to come to the school. So maybe when it comes to schools, they don't put an alert out, even if they could. I'm not sure. So I'll be interested to find out if they do put alerts out for school stuff. For carjackings, they definitely do. I've literally seen that with my eyes. If there's been a carjacking and the person goes away with a known vehicle type, they'll put that out for the general public to help identify that.
Yeah, Ryan, not to like ask you to speak on behalf of like America or even like the state of Washington, where like you're maybe a bit more familiar with. What's the feeling, amongst people around this topic? Do they speak openly about it, and are wanting to engage, or is it very much like the pro guns, anti guns sides of the argument still become the focal point, and we sort of get away from the fact that like a mass shooting at a school has occurred?
Yeah, I think it's always the argument, the pro-gun, anti-gun argument that pops up first of all, and that's what will dominate the news, for the coming weeks. And I think there's like good arguments for both sides, right? Of that. Yeah, but that's always what comes up first, and I don't know, like if I was a parent, or if you two guys are a parent in the US and you saw this video and you're about to send your kid off to their first day of school, I'm thinking lots of parents will be like, maybe I'll just homeschool my kid. Like, even though it's the smallest chance ever, but I don't want to risk it, right?
That's it. Like, you're not meant to live your life in fear, but your 5-year-old child. Like, I'd look at a 5-year-old today, and maybe they're smarter than what I think, but I'd just be like, there's no way I'm leaving you, somewhere where I'm not, and this could happen. It was just like, it would rip you apart. You'd never be able to function, I don't think. So I don't know how parents, after watching that video, will be able to like send the kids off to school. You'd have to like really take a deep breath and think, what are the odds of it happening in my school? And I don't know if there's statistics out there on this. I'll have a quick look.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's definitely higher in some states, just due to certain gun laws. But actually, going back to the pro-gun, anti-gun. So you look at the UK, virtually zero shootings in schools. You look at the US, and I don't know the exact number, but there's a fair few each year, and I guess the obvious point is guns are illegal in the UK, guns are legal in the US, so it must be down to being able to just buy a firearm in the US.
If guns are sold in shops quite widely, then it means that they must be available to a wide audience, right? Supplying, economics. I don't want to belittle the subject, but supply and demand at its simplest form, right? If there's a supply, it means there's obviously demand. So people are demanding that they have the gun. Whereas in Britain, there's no demand there because it's super, super illegal. It's so hard to get a license. You can't just get a license and then buy a gun. You have to get a license, then justify why you need a gun, and then you're only allowed it out in certain places. You'll never be able to take it out just even covered, and walk around with it and say, "Oh yeah, don't worry, Mr. Officer, I've got a license." No. It's like, no, I use it for hunting or etc. etc. Yeah, I think that's the main difference. So I don't buy the whole. There's another reason, for this. If you make guns illegal, I think a lot of it would go down, but it wouldn't go down. A lot of the shootings mass shootings would go down, but they wouldn't go down instantly, right? Because there's making it illegal and then actually getting the guns off the street. Mm-hmm. Now I'm not sure. I told you just sent a link, but I'm not sure. I'm 100% correct on this, but I know that Australia did a gun collection thing, right? Overhauled its gun laws after 35 people were killed in 1996. So semi-automatic and self-loading guns were made proper, not illegal, but the laws meant that it's just almost impossible to get a license for one. And then people with those guns, who, if you suddenly didn't have a license for it because the law had changed, you had to hand in your gun. And I think they give you monetary value for it. I think I'm not 100% sure, but takes a few years, but I don't see why America keeps saying we can't do it, because there's so many people who seem to be against the whole thing, right?
There's so many people for guns because it's one of the amendments. I don't know what amendment, Fifth Amendment maybe. It's their right to
bear
have
arms.
A gun.
No, it's the right to bear arms, isn't it, and protect yourself or something. Yeah.
So that's everyone just quotes that when.
The problem with making a constitution in the modern era.
I mean, they update the constitution, right? But I
They'll
guess
never update
parts
that,
are still updated. So people are always like, well, yeah, it's my right to have a gun, and that's their argument. It's my right. I mean, it's not really. I guess it is an argument because it's a law. But when you like think about it, oh, it's just your right. That's all you can say. That's why you have a gun, because it's your right. I don't know. Seems like strange to me.
Yeah, I just had a look. It was the Second Amendment, and it's
Second
like
Amendment.
right to bear arms in times of militia or a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So, like, without delving too far into it, in times of a militia, like if a militia has to be formed, that's essentially, civil war or some type of, Jurassic unrest. I don't know if there's like pockets of, I suppose you have gangs and you have different types of groups within society that feel they're maybe currently at war for different reasons in America, but there doesn't seem to be like a national scale, battles amongst many groups, where you'd say like this is an identified militia who are openly at war with the state of America or other militias in the country. So that's why you would need a gun to protect yourself. It just more seems people are using the right to bear arms to justify their own, owning of a possession, like a possession of a firearm, instead of, saying, I want a gun for sporting or I want a gun for self-protection, and just being open and saying it. And ignoring the Second Amendment, ignoring the right to do anything at all, just say, why I want to do it with a clear justification. But this is maybe like an epidemic America hasn't quite addressed.
Yeah, and that goes back to what I was saying before about how many is too many. But it's got to be an epidemic, hasn't it? Because one or two is too many. Yeah, and we like our equivalent is knife crime. Knives are by far the biggest. Like if you think about a weapon that can be easily bought, and it's complicated to put laws on for some reason on purchasing a deadly knife. It's knives, right? A deadly weapon, sorry, it's knives, because they can then be carried really easily. You don't need a license for pretty much 99.9999% of knives, and kids can take them to school, or anyone can take them to school. But the chances of you going around and doing a mass
stabbing,
is before you get stopped, or there's a physical element to it, isn't there? So you have to, you also have to be pretty fit to anyway, I don't want to go into that, but the point is that it's just going to be less people. You instantly want to just reduce this problem. There's going to be less people killed, in my view, if the laws around guns are made so it's much more difficult to get them.
It's a good point. What we deal with knife crime, like I've seen in Stansted Airport, a bin to dispose of your knife, and I've seen them throughout London. And there's been like some young men wearing T-shirts about knife crime, giving out flyers and talking to people about like how do we stop this, and it's quite powerful to see like a young person doing it. I suppose this is like I seen that in real life, and it kind of struck me like this is a demographic of young men who I've seen in the papers, their faces shown as like someone who's just lost their life, and their mothers talking on TV about losing their child. So that was powerful to see it, like on a Saturday afternoon in the centre of London when it's a sunny summer's day. But like these young men are not in the park kicking a football. They're not, I'd say, going on holiday, like in their summer before going to university type thing. They're campaigning on the streets to raise awareness for knife crime, and that hit me. And I suppose maybe that was like a localized, like physical interaction with someone. So maybe the high production value of this video is the only way to, on an epidemic, it's nationwide, reach out, across the internet to millions of people in one go.
Yeah. It strikes me, again, I'll go back to my initial gut feeling, which is I was shocked by the video itself, but like the thing that really shocked me is the production value, meaning because it just meant that the people behind it know that there's going to be enough of an audience that it's worth doing, which just is sad. It makes me sad because it's like, it's a school, man. You know, kids should be getting, as Ryan said, kids should be getting ready, like looking forward to school, not dreading it, or even worse, it becoming normal that they get ready to prepare for that. Like, you almost inevitably accept it's going to happen, and then go, right, okay, what can I do to prepare myself so when it happens, I'm ready? Do you know what I mean? It should be a matter of
I don't have to worry about this.
you don't have to worry about this because it's such a
Yeah.
low chance, rather than when it happens, I'm going to be ready for it.
Yeah. Of all the things we spend money and invest time on and resources, and it's always contentious. You know, where does government funding go towards? And this is like a private fund by, I think, the family members. Brian said, of those that lost their life in the 2012 attack. So they've put their own money towards this, or raised money to do like a very high production value video, which it's professional, like it's very clean, but it conveys a message effectively. But you're like, you know, we have other issues like with poverty, you know, across a number of, you know, third world, or not third world, definitely also, but creeping into first world societies, you know, countries like America, the UK, you know, food banks, you know, are now on our streets, and you're thinking, we're dedicating our time and resource to solving an issue which really should not exist in our world. Like, there's so many more things which are more important, which should have more focus on them, but this horrible issue is detracting us from them.
Yeah, I mean, it's been going on for a while. We're not the first person to talk about it, but we won't be the last. What's his name? Is it Michael Moore? He makes documentaries, and I think he did one years ago called Bowling for Columbine. So there was a shooting at Columbine, and he made a documentary. And it's not about, I'm not going to talk about the documentary, but it's more about the fact that he made a documentary, spent, you know, thousands, if not hundreds of thousands making it, if not even millions, probably hundreds of thousands, making the documentary, got backing for it, and now he, you know, it's a popular documentary on the subject, and that was let's say over 15 years ago, maybe, and it's still a problem. So you got to get down to the grassroots and say, why is that still existing? Well, gun industry, again, supply and demand. There's enough of a demand for guns. Someone's supplying them. Very difficult to someone's making a living out of it. Let's not get all too political, but the facts are someone's making a living out of it. So it's hard to drag someone's living away, right? When they feel probably that their job in it, you know, if you're making a gun, or you're not making the gun thinking, yes, can't wait for it to be used on this application, that application. You're making the gun. Maybe you just enjoy making a gun, or maybe you just enjoy selling guns, or whatever. It's what you're good at. Looking from their point of view, they're not doing bad things. It's the people with the guns that are doing the bad things. So if we could just stop the people who are going to do the bad things with the gun from getting the gun, that'd be a good start. It just seems like they haven't got a good system for doing that. You know, a system that ensures that zero people who are not suitable, not suitable to have the gun have it.
Yeah, I think whenever Ram was saying earlier, like, there's valid points on both sides of the argument. I think for like the pro-gun argument, like a fundamental point that I understand is, you know, the gun itself doesn't just like get legs, walk out into a school and shoot someone. You know, if there's a physical person, the person does that act. You know, no one that makes guns, well, I can't say that entirely. I assume most people that sell and are involved in the gun, you know, community in America don't go out and commit school shootings, don't intend for the gun to be used, you know, at such a horrific event. They probably use it for sporting or for self-protection. You know, so yeah, it's the people behind it, and it's the education or the mentality. And it's probably a more widespread, like, national issue around, I suppose, like mental health. because you'd have to assume that none of these people who've ever committed a mass shooting are of sound mental health.
I
And
hope
when it
not.
comes into like the courts, like how they get prosecuted, you know, they're not insane. You want to prosecute them as a sane person if they've committed a treacherous act, but they can't think like you and I, or else they'd know what's wrong.
Well, you say that, but there could be people like I know it's a film. It's called Seven. Have you seen it? It's got Brad Pitt in there, and the point is that the main is it not the protagonist, the bad guy in it, I guess, what we would call the bad guy, the villain, doesn't see himself as a villain. He's making a point about a reference to like how people in the modern age, pretty much commit the seven deadly sins on a regular basis, and he was just showing the most, in an extreme way, bringing attention to that through his very intricate crimes. So, yeah, you could. Well, what was my point? Sorry.
I get what you're saying. You're saying that like the person who commits the act will never see themselves in the wrong because.
Yeah, well, I'm not saying never. There's got to be some
that point.
You just go loopy, but they're loopy. But there's maybe some people who just go, right, I've had enough of, for some other reason. It's not necessarily mental health issue. They may say I've had enough. That's not a mental health issue. I've had enough of life. I'm going to go out with I'm going to go out and make a message. I'm fed up of like being a nobody or whatever. I want to make sure that I'm heard, and this is the only way they can feel like they can, get their message across, etc. Which is just so bad. You know what I mean? It shouldn't be that way. Like, it should be like the law of being able to get a gun should be able to look at your back. I think you should be allowed to look at your whole background. If I have to get a visa, they ask me quite a lot of questions. Actually, Ryan, you should do some research on this and see how easy it is to get a gun.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm interested, right? As like an international, like a non-resident, whether I could get a gun. I don't think, probably not, right? That's what I'm thinking, but who knows? It could be that easy.
Well, no, I'm not saying you would go out now and get a gun. I'm just saying, what is the process and how easy is that process to access?
I mean, I've heard stories in some places, you literally just walk into a store, pull out your driver's license, choose what gun you want, walk out, within a few minutes. Like, you might not even know how to use the weapon properly, but you can just take it and then you're good to go. Like that seems like dangerous to me, right? No background checks on that person, no like mental health checks on that person, nothing. They can just do
that's
like that.
Surely no, that can't be the case. Surely.
I mean, it's different between different states, right? But some states it is that easy.
Well, last time I was in Texas, I remember we wanted to go to a gun range, and it was like we weren't. The Texans there weren't 100% sure that I would be able to, use one. I think I would have been able to be honest. But with the time we had, it wasn't like, oh yeah, we'll just pop in here and just have a quick go. It would have been like, oh, we may pop in and you may have to fill out some forms and da 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 da. Do you know what I mean? And we were like, I can't be asked with that. So. Really? Yeah, but we did. I don't know. My point is, I don't know. So we should do some research and then. Yeah.
I mean,
revisit just in a 5-minute update and go, yep, Ryan got a gun.
I also went to a shooting range in Texas when I first came here, and
there you go.
It was as easy, right? Just paid for it. Probably had to show some ID to show I was over 21, and gave us a pistol and a rifle, and we just walked into the shooting range, and it was easy as that.
Were you with an American resident when you did that, or
just with a friend from England? Put the ammo in here, just go, like, pull this back and you're good to go. And they just hand you over the counter, you take the weapons and you just walk around on your own into
that is insane.
In the range. Yeah.
That is insane. Do they keep your driving license behind the counter at least? Or?
No, I can't remember that part. But I mean, it was easy, right, to go to a shooting range anyway, right? Yeah. I don't know about buying a gun as like an international person in America. But if you want to go to like a shooting range to try out, then yeah, it's pretty simple.
That is so bad. I can't. Yeah, I ain't got anything more to say on it. Today we looked at a video on mass shootings, especially around schools. It's a Sandy Hook Promise video. You can find that link in the description on YouTube. We'll put that link in there. But yeah, that kept us on a topic of around guns, etc. in America, and then comparing that to the UK. We've been Ryan, Todd, and Lewis. We hope that we can get your views on some of these topics that we've discussed in here in episode 7, and maybe we'll revisit them in a future episode. But yeah, thank you for listening. Catch us on Spotify, YouTube, SoundCloud, and yeah, see you next week.